Hi students, now I would like to discuss about what is sociology. What are the important aspects of sociology? I am going to discuss about sociology from the point of view of sociology syllabus related to UPSC Civil Services examination. Sociology is a scientific study of society. Sociology mainly focuses its attention on the structure, functions, and processes of various societies in the world. And it also focuses on the study of various social and economic issues that are persisting in global society, including Indian society. Apart from this, sociology also studies about the changing trends in global society. It tries to analyze the structure of the basic social institutions like family system, marriage system, economic system, political system, religion, education, and the changing trends in all these institutions. If you look at the sociology syllabus, there are two papers. Paper 1 mainly focuses on theoretical aspects of human society, which we can call it as a theoretical sociology. And paper 2 mainly focus on Indian society, structure and change. Let me briefly discuss about the important aspects related to paper 1. Paper 1 mainly deals with the fundamentals of sociology. We begin with what is sociology, what is the nature and scope of sociology, what were the factors that have contributed for the emergence of sociology as a scientific discipline, and how sociology is related with other disciplines, more specifically like economics, history, political science, psychology and anthropology. Then sociological knowledge is based on the empirical studies. Sociology is not based on the common sense knowledge. Sociological knowledge is a scientific knowledge based on certain scientific studies. That is why we can say that sociology is an empirical science. So, in order to accumulate knowledge related to human society, sociologists have developed different research methods to study the human society, to understand the various social issues, and to suggest the solutions for various problems. So therefore, as part of paper 1, we discuss about the research methods. There are certain research methods like comparative method, historical method, functional method, then experimental method. Like that, there are many methods to study human society. And all these methods are useful to understand the society in a scientific way and to organize the sociological facts in a very systematic manner. So the organization of the scientific information related to human society ultimately results into the establishment of theories. So therefore, we have one chapter on sociological thinkers. So understanding the contribution of the sociological thinkers is a very important chapter. And as far as the syllabus is concerned, we have the thinkers like Karl Marx, Max Weber, Emile Durkheim, Talcott Parsons, R.K. Merton, and G.H. Mead. So all these sociologists have studied about the different societies in the world, and they have established their own theories which are applicable to the entire human society. For example, Karl Marx has established a theory of class struggle, and he visualized for a classless society, a stateless society. Similarly, Max Weber has discussed about capitalism, concept of class, religion. So like that, each sociologist have discussed about the various aspects of human society which we need to understand. Then apart from that, every society have certain basic features. For example, social inequality, social differentiation, social stratification. These are the features of every society. According to the sociologists, almost all societies are built on the principle of social inequality. People are divided into different social groups, and all those social groups are arranged in a hierarchical order, which we can call it as a social stratification. So in sociology, how people are divided into different social groups and how they are stratified in a society, and how these social groups are arranged in a hierarchical order, and what are the dimensions of social stratification. All these aspects we will discuss as part of paper 1. And there are specific dimensions of social stratification like class, caste, race, and gender. That means in every society, people are stratified in terms of class. That means on the basis of their economic status. In Indian context, people are stratified in terms of caste. In almost all societies in the world, you can find the gender stratification. So we need to discuss about what is stratification, what are the theories associated with social stratification, and what are the dimensions of social stratification. Then one of the core topic of sociology is the study of the basic social institutions. From sociological point of view, the basic social institutions means family system, marriage system, economic system, political system, religion, and education. All these basic social institutions are considered as the basic pillars of the society. No society can sustain without these basic social institutions. The survival, sustenance, and continuity of the society mainly depends upon the social equilibrium of these basic social institutions. If these basic social institutions become weak, there is every possibility for the disorganization of the society. So we discuss about the characteristics, functions of the family system, marriage system, and changing trends in family and marriage system across the globe. Similarly, we talk about the political system. We talk about the power and politics. And there are many sociological theories related to the power and politics. And there are many concepts associated with the political system like democracy, secularism. So we discuss many aspects related to the political system, economic system, and also religion. We discuss the role of religion in maintaining social equilibrium or maintaining social integration in the society, and how different sociologists have viewed religion from sociological point of view. For example, Karl Marx has considered religion as the opium of the masses, whereas Max Weber has considered religion as a social force which is essential for social integration, which has contributed for the rise of capitalism in the West. Similarly, Emile Durkheim has discussed about religion in a different perspective. So the point here is that sociologists have developed different perspectives to look at the society, to understand the society, to analyze the society. So all these perspectives help us to understand the social reality. Then at the end, paper 1 also focuses its attention on the concept of social change. Sociologists firmly believe that society is not static, it is dynamic. Society undergo change because of the influence of various factors. Society undergo change because of the influence of the factors like education, political policies, social movements, industrialization, urbanization, science and technology. Like that, various factors contribute to bring about a change in the society. So we need to understand the changing trends in the society across the globe. So like that, paper 1 is theoretical and it is not that difficult to understand. We need to understand every concept from the point of view of the different sociologists so that students can write a most effective answer as part of paper 1. Then coming to paper 2, mainly it focuses on Indian society. The title of this paper is Indian Society Structure and Change. Paper 2 begins with approaches to the understanding of Indian society. That means how to understand Indian society. Indian society is a highly diversified society. We could see the diversity in Indian society in terms of race, language, religion, and culture. So therefore, first of all, we need to understand the racial, linguistic, religious, and cultural diversities in Indian society. So these diversities have been analyzed by different sociologists with different perspectives. So therefore, sociologists have developed different approaches or perspectives to understand Indian society. And there are different perspectives like Indological perspective, structural functional perspective, Marxist perspective, subaltern perspective. Like that, there are many perspectives to understand Indian society. So all these perspectives are helpful to understand the social reality of Indian society. Then, as far as Indian society is concerned, it constitutes of 3 types of communities. Rural communities or rural society, urban communities or urban society, tribal communities or tribal society. So in paper 2 of sociology, the focus would be on understanding the structure, functions, problems and changes of rural society, urban society and tribal society. And then with regard to the rural society, there are certain important topics like agrarian social structure, Because Indian society is considered as an agrarian society, where majority of the population directly or indirectly depend upon agriculture and allied activities. So understanding agrarian social structure in Indian rural society is very important. And caste system in rural society. Without understanding the caste, we cannot understand the Indian society or rural society in India. Because rural society is such kind of society that the culture, economic system, political system, all these, their values, norms, all these are directly related to the caste system. Caste play a very important role in the social, economic, political and religious life of the people. So we need to understand what is the caste system and what is the role of caste in rural economy and rural political system, and what are the changes that are taking place in the caste system, and what would be the future of the caste, whether caste will continue to exist in future or caste will vanish due to the influence of industrialization, urbanization, modernization and globalization. So this kind of discussion is very much required as part of this topic. Then apart from that, there are certain topics like land reforms, rural development programs, rural poverty, problems of agricultural laborers, rural distress, migration. So all these issues we need to discuss as part of this particular topic. And more specifically, we need to discuss about the rural development programs and their impact on Indian rural society. For the past almost more than 6 decades, Government of India has initiated several development programs, starting from IRDP, Integrated Rural Development Program, and later on many programs have come up like National Rural Livelihoods Mission, then Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushalya Yojana. Like several development programs have been initiated for the socio-economic advancement of rural societies in India. So from sociological point of view, we need to analyze the impact of these rural development programs on rural society. So like that, the holistic understanding about the rural society is very much required. Then urban society. As part of this, we try to discuss about the urban ecology, urban environment, and social and economic issues and environmental issues associated with urban society, environmental degradation, increasing slums, population growth in urban communities, industrialization and urbanization, crime, and especially in the present context, cyber crime in urban communities, violence against women. So many issues related to the urban society are discussed as part of this. Then we have tribal society. First of all, we need to understand what are the characteristics of tribal society and the geographical distribution of tribal communities in India. According to Anthropological Survey of India, there are around 700 tribal communities in India. They are spread over in different parts of the country. And you can find the 3 types of tribes. One is the tribes which are living in plain areas along with the mainstream population. Then we have the forest-based tribes and we have hill area tribes. So we need to understand the socio-economic and cultural aspects of these Indian tribes. And most importantly, the problems of tribal communities in India. Even today, there are many tribal communities which are away from the mainstream social life in India. Then what are the state initiatives to transform the socio-economic and political life of the tribal communities in India? Government of India has established ITDAs, Integrated Tribal Development Agencies, in different parts of the country for the socio-economic upliftment of the tribal communities. Government of India has also initiated several tribal welfare programs for the tribal development. So what has happened with tribal communities now? Whether we are able to bring the tribal communities into the mainstream social life or not. And there are many approaches to understand the problems of tribal communities. Whether we have to keep the tribal communities in isolation, that is called isolation approach, or whether we need to bring the tribes into the mainstream social life, that is called integrative approach. And third, assimilationist approach. That means some sociologists and some social reformers have argued that the tribes have to assimilate into the larger society. So we need to discuss about the different types of approaches to the understanding of tribal problems in India. Then Government of India has initiated National Tribal Policy. Understanding about the National Tribal Policy and its impact on the socio-economic and political life of the tribal communities. How this National Tribal Policy and the tribal welfare programs have contributed for the socio-economic upliftment of the tribal communities, that we have to analyze. Then apart from this, there are certain topics like the political system in Indian society. When we talk about the political system, we need to discuss about the democracy. What is democracy? And what is meant by secularism? What is meant by communalism? What is meant by regionalism? And while discussing about the democracy, what are the major challenges for liberal democracy in India? Indian democracy believes in the secular spirit, but are we able to continue the secular spirit in Indian democracy? What are the challenges for the secularism in India? Now we are talking about uniform civil code. Whether Indian society needs uniform civil code or not, then what are the challenges for the implementation of uniform civil code in India? So all these aspects we need to discuss about the political system. And one of the most important aspects is the regionalism. For the past few decades, regional tendencies have increased very much in various parts of the country. India has experienced Dravidian movement, Khalistan movement, JKLF movement, Naga movement, and there are movements like some movements demanding for a separate statehood or autonomy movements, and some of them are the secessionist movements. For example, JKLF movement, Khalistan movement, Naga movement, they are all secessionist movements. They want to detach from Indian society. They want to establish their own sovereign state. So, how to tackle these issues and how Indian state has reacted to these movements? So, all these issues we need to discuss as part of the political system in Indian society. And we also discuss about the social movements, which is again very, very important topic. For the past 100 years, Indian society has experienced several movements. The social movements include peasant and farmers movements, Dalit movements, backward classes movements, women's movements, civil rights movements or human rights movements, environmental movements. We need to discuss about all these movements and what are the major achievements of these movements. What are the issues raised by these movements? For example, take Dalit movement. What were the issues raised by the Dalit movements in India? What are the major achievements of Dalit movements in India? For example, farmers movements. What are the various farmers movements in different parts of the country? What were the main demands of these farmers movements? All these aspects we need to analyze. Then another most contemporary topic is population dynamics. All of you know very well that India became the number one country in the world in terms of population. Today we have around 140 crore population. But there are many issues associated with the population. Whether increasing population is an asset or burden for Indian economy. What kind of population we have? What is the quality of population in India? Whether Indian population can contribute for the faster economic growth or not. Then what kind of strategies are required to transform the human population as a human capital to make the Indian society as a developed nation? Today we are talking about that by 2047 India would become the developed nation on par with the developed nations in the world like United States of America, UK, China and other countries. So what are the challenges for that? What kind of skills we are supposed to provide to the growing population? What kind of education system we are supposed to have to transform this human population as a human capital? And as the Indian population is increasing, the size of the aged population is also increasing. So what are the problems of the aged population in India? What kind of measures are required to provide the secured life for the aged population in India? What kind of measures are required to make the aged population to lead the productive life? So all these are the important issues. Similarly, declining sex ratio, declining child sex ratio. What are the factors that have contributed for the declining trend in sex ratio and child sex ratio? And there is a concept called demographic dividend. Then how to transform this human population to yield a demographic dividend in near future? So all these aspects are very much related to population dynamics. Then there are several challenges for Indian society in the contemporary society. Even in spite of so much of development, there are several issues persisting in Indian society. For example, poverty. Even after 70 years of our economic planning, there are large number of people living below poverty line. Large number of people do not have the access to quality education, quality healthcare facilities, quality housing. So how to resolve these kind of issues? Unemployment is a big problem. And violence against women. According to National Crime Records Bureau, violence against women is increasing very much. Domestic violence has increased very much. What are the reasons for these kind of issues? Then development and displacement. All the time we are looking at development. Yes, development is essential for faster economic growth. But what are the consequences of these development projects? Whenever the government or private sector plan for a development project, the first requirement is land. The government has to acquire the land from the people for the installation of the development projects. These development projects could be irrigation projects, steel industries, power projects, coal mines. But for all these development projects, government has acquired thousands and thousands acres of land, which ultimately resulted into the displacement of population. Large number of Adivasi population, tribal population, rural population have been displaced due to these development projects. What are their demands? Losing land means losing livelihood. So what are the social and economic consequences of the displacement? What kind of rehabilitation and resettlement measures are required to help the displaced persons? And what kind of rehabilitation policy is required for Indian society? So all these issues we need to discuss. All these are the major challenges for Indian society. And we have the communal conflicts, caste conflicts, regional conflicts. So how to address all these issues? How to resolve these issues? So like that, paper 2 is mostly related to the contemporary social and economic issues that are persisting in Indian society. And it's very interesting paper. And in fact, the content of paper 2 provides a great insight for the civil services aspirants to understand Indian society. The knowledge of paper 2 is not only helpful to score good marks with sociology, but it is also helpful in their profession in future. So, paper 1 and paper 2, both these papers are related to the understanding of human society. Paper 1 is related to the understanding of the global society. Paper 2 is related to the understanding of Indian society. And I would like to say that a student with any academic background can understand sociology, and I personally feel that it is not that difficult to understand the content of sociology. And definitely sociology as an optional is very much useful to score very good marks and to get a very good rank. And the content of sociology is also very much helpful for the general studies and also essay writing. So these are the advantages with sociology. So without any apprehension, a student with any kind of academic background can opt sociology as their optional for civil services main examination. Thank you.